Hana stared at the holographic display floating above her desk. Something was wrong with the timeline. She scrolled through the Galactic Military History database again, checking the dates carefully. Her assignment was simple enough. Write a report on major wars in the last 500 years. She had found plenty of information about conflicts between different alien species. The Korvax Wars, the Thexian expansion, the Dreven campaigns, all of it was there in detail. But the human record stopped 300 years ago. Just stopped. Like someone had taken scissors and cut the story in half. She found the last entry about humans in warfare. It was just one line in the database. Humans banned from all military conflicts by unanimous Galactic Council decree. No explanation. No details. Nothing else. Hana was Valerian. Her people valued knowledge above all things. A gap in the historical record bothered her like an itch she could not scratch. She raised her hand in class the next day. Professor Kent looked at her with his 3 eyes. He was old even for a Kryn. His scales had turned silver with age. Why were humans banned from warfare? Hana asked. The classroom went quiet. 20 students from 15 different species all turned to look at her. Professor Kent's scales rippled. That meant he was uncomfortable. That is not relevant to your assignment, he said. But there is a 300-year gap in the records, Hana pressed. How can we study military history if we cannot study all of it? Professor Kent's voice became stern. Some historical matters are classified for good reason. I suggest you focus on the material that is available to you. Do not pursue this topic further. That should have been the end of it, but Hana could not let it go. When class ended, she found 3 of her friends in the cafeteria. They sat together at their usual table by the window that looked out at the stars. Taemin was eating something that looked like blue soup. He was Kryn like Professor Kent, but young and curious about everything. Deho sat across from him, his large frame taking up 2 chairs. The Thexians were a warrior species, and Deho looked the part. Minji was the smallest of them, a Zenthari with silver skin and fingers that never stopped moving. She was always tinkering with some device or another. I need your help, Hana said. She told them about the gap in the records and the professor's strange reaction. Deho grinned. You want to break some rules? I like it. We should not, Taemin said carefully. If the information is classified, there must be a reason. But do you not want to know why? Hana asked. Humans have been part of the galactic community for 500 years. They still are. They trade with everyone. Their diplomats are everywhere. But they cannot fight in wars? Why? Minji looked up from the small device she was building. I heard rumors, she said quietly, about a restricted archive in the library. Battle recordings that were sealed by the council. How restricted? Hana asked. Very, but not impossible. Minji smiled. I can bypass security systems. It is what I do. Taemin shook his head. If we are caught, we will be expelled. Only if we are caught, Deho said. He looked at Hana. When do we go? They planned it carefully over the next 3 days. The restricted section of the Academy library was in the lower levels. It required special authorization to enter. Minji studied the security protocols. She found a maintenance window that happened every 5th night. For 20 minutes, the biometric scanners would reset. That was their chance. Deho got the maintenance uniforms. Taemin mapped out the camera positions. Hana memorized the archive layout from old blueprints she found in the public records. The 5th night came. They waited until late when most students were asleep. The 4 of them made their way through the empty corridors. Hana's heart beat fast. She had never broken rules like this before. The library was dark and quiet. They took the elevator down to the restricted levels. Minji pulled out her tools when they reached the sealed door. Her fingers danced over the control panel. Lights blinked. Numbers scrolled across a small screen she had attached to the lock. How long? Taemin whispered. He kept watching the corridor behind them. Almost there, Minji said. The encryption is complex. Military grade. Someone really does not want people in here. The door hissed open. They stepped inside quickly. The restricted archive was smaller than Hana expected. Rows of data storage units lined the walls. Everything was physical storage, not connected to any network. That made sense. If you wanted to keep secrets, you kept them offline. Look for anything about human conflicts, Hana said. They spread out, checking labels and dates. Deho found it first. A whole section marked Human Conflict Era. Dozens of storage units, all sealed with warning labels. Classified, Council Eyes Only. Do not copy. Minji connected her portable device to the nearest unit. I am downloading everything I can. This will take a few minutes. The minutes felt like hours. Hana watched the progress bar on Minji's screen crawl forward. 50%, 60%, 70%, an alarm blared. Red lights flashed. Security system detected us, Taemin said. We need to leave, now. Just a few more seconds, Minji said. Her fingers flew over her device. 90%. 95%. They heard footsteps in the corridor outside. Heavy boots. Multiple guards, done. Minji yanked her device free. They ran for the back exit Taemin had found on the maps. The door opened into a maintenance tunnel. They sprinted through the darkness, following the emergency lighting on the floor. Behind them, they heard guards entering the archive. Voices shouted. More alarms sounded. The tunnel led to a service elevator. They took it up to the residence levels and split up, each going to their own quarters by different routes. If security was looking for a group, it was better to separate. An hour later, they met again in Hana's room. They were all breathing hard. Daeho's uniform was torn. Taemin looked terrified. But Minji was smiling. She held up her device. I got it all, she said. Battle recordings, tactical reports, classified council documents. Everything from the human conflict era. Hana felt excitement and fear mixing together in her chest. They had done it. They had stolen some of the most classified information in the galaxy. Now they just had to figure out what it meant. The files are encrypted, Minji said, scrolling through the data. Heavy encryption. It will take time to break. How much time? Hana asked. Minji looked at her with those bright silver eyes. A few days. Maybe a week, but I can do it. She paused. Are we sure we want to know what is in these files? The professor said some things are classified for good reason. The four friends looked at each other. They had already broken into a restricted archive. They had already stolen classified military secrets. There was no going back now. Yes, Hana said firmly. We need to know why humans were banned from war. We need to understand what they did that was so terrible the entire galaxy agreed to keep them out of every conflict for 300 years. Minji nodded and turned back to her work. Her fingers began dancing across her device again, starting the long process of breaking the encryption. The others watched in silence, wondering what secrets they were about to discover. Minji worked through the night. Her room was dark except for the glow of her screens. Lines of code scrolled past as she ran program after program against the encrypted files. The security protecting these records was unlike anything she had seen before. Whoever had locked this information away had not wanted anyone to find it. The others tried to sleep but could not. They kept checking their communication devices, waiting for a message from Minji. At dawn it came. 3 words. I got one. They rushed to her room. Minji looked exhausted. Her silver skin was pale and her eyes were red, but she was smiling. 1 file, she said. I broke through the first layer of encryption. It is a battle recording from 287 years ago. Show us, Hana said. Minji activated the holographic display. The recording started. They saw a star system with 6 planets. Text appeared explaining the context. This was a border dispute between the Korvax Empire and a human colony. The Korvax had claimed the system first. The humans had arrived later and refused to leave. Negotiations had failed. The Korvax sent a fleet to remove the human colony by force. This should be simple, Daeho said. The Korvax had superior numbers and technology. The humans were new to space. They should have lost quickly. But that was not what the recording showed. The Korvax fleet arrived at the colony world. 15 warships against 3 human vessels and a small planetary defense network. The Korvax commander sent the standard warning. Leave or be destroyed. The human response came back immediately. Surrender your fleet or face consequences. The Korvax commander laughed. The recording captured that moment. He thought the humans were insane. The battle began. The Korvax ships moved forward in their traditional formation. Tight and organized, just like their military doctrine taught. The human ships did something strange. They ran, not away from the system but toward the colony's asteroid belt. Cowards, Daeho muttered. Then his expression changed as they kept watching. The Korvax fleet followed the humans into the asteroids. That was when things started going wrong for them. The human ships moved through the asteroid field like they had practiced there for years. They probably had. The Korvax ships struggled. Their tight formations broke apart. They had to split up to avoid collisions. That was when the humans attacked, but they did not attack with weapons. Not at first. They attacked with information. The recording showed communication intercepts. The humans had been listening to Korvax's military channels. Not just listening, understanding. They knew the Korvax command structure. They knew which ships held which ranks. They knew the names of the commanders and their relationships to each other. Then the humans started sending false orders on Korvax frequencies. Orders that sounded exactly like they came from the fleet commander. Ships turned the wrong way. Formations scattered further. Confusion spread through the Korvax fleet like fire. How did they break the encryption? Taman asked. Korvax military codes are supposed to be unbreakable. Keep watching, Minji said quietly. The humans had not broken the encryption. They had stolen it. The recording showed evidence that human intelligence agents had infiltrated Korvax military networks months before the battle. They had been preparing for this fight long before it started. But the tactical deception was only the beginning. The humans did something worse. They exploited Korvax culture. The Korvax were a hierarchical species. Orders from superiors were absolute. Questioning a commander was unthinkable. The humans knew this. They sent a false order that seemed to come from the fleet commander. It ordered 5 ships to hold position while the others advanced. Those 5 ships obeyed without question. Then the human ships emerged from the asteroids and destroyed those 5 ships. Quick and efficient. The remaining Korvax fleet was in chaos. Some ships wanted to help. Others followed their last orders to advance. The fleet commander screamed at them to regroup, but nobody knew which orders were real anymore. The humans sent another false message. This one claimed the fleet commander had been compromised, that he had been bribed by the humans, that all his orders should be ignored. Half the Korvax fleet believed it. They stopped following orders entirely. The battle fell apart after that. Some Korvax ships tried to retreat. Others tried to fight. A few even started firing at each other, unsure who was following real orders and who was following human deception. The humans picked them off one by one. It took 3 hours. When it was over, 12 Korvax ships were destroyed or disabled. The 3 human ships had barely been damaged. The recording ended. The 4 students sat in silence. Hana felt cold despite the warm room. They did not win through superior weapons, Taman said slowly. They won by making the Korvax destroy themselves. It is brilliant, Deho said. But he did not sound happy about it. He sounded disturbed. My people fight with honor. Face to face. Strength against strength. This is not honorable. This is not war as I understand it. It is psychological warfare, Minji said. Humans studied their enemy. They learned everything about Korvax culture, military doctrine, and communication systems. Then they used that knowledge as a weapon. But why is this classified? Hana asked. The Korvax lost a battle. That happens in war. Why hide this recording for 300 years? Because of what it means, Taman said. He had pulled up additional information on his tablet. Look at this. I cross-referenced the date of this battle with historical records. The Korvax Empire had a political crisis right after this battle. Their military command structure fell apart. Officers stopped trusting each other. They thought human agents might be anywhere. The paranoia lasted for decades. The humans did not just win a battle, Hana said, understanding slowly dawning. They damaged an entire civilization's ability to fight wars. And if they did this once, Minji said, they probably did it other times too. We have dozens more files to decrypt. Deho stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the stars. My people would never fight this way. We could not. Our entire culture is built on direct combat, honorable warfare. If an enemy fought like this against us, we would be helpless. We would not even understand what was happening until it was too late. Maybe that is why humans were banned, Hana said. Maybe the galaxy realized that human warfare was too dangerous. Not because humans were too strong, but because they fought in ways other species could not counter. We need to see more, Taman said. One battle is not enough to understand the full picture. Minji, how long until you can decrypt another file? I am working faster now that I understand the encryption pattern, Minji said. Maybe 2 days for the next one. Less if I am lucky. Do it, Hana said. We need to know more. They left Minji's room one by one, trying not to look suspicious. Hana went to her morning classes, but she could not focus. She kept thinking about the battle recording. About the Korvax ships firing at each other while the humans watched. About psychological warfare as a primary weapon instead of just a supporting tactic. That evening, she went to the library. The public library this time, not the restricted section. She searched for information about human culture. She found reports from diplomats and traders. Humans were described as friendly and curious, good at learning languages, excellent at understanding social dynamics, skilled negotiators, all positive traits. But Hannah saw them differently now. Good at learning languages meant they could intercept communications. Understanding social dynamics meant they could manipulate relationships. Skilled negotiators meant they knew how to get what they wanted. Every human strength could be a weapon if used the right way. Or the wrong way, depending on your perspective. She closed the library terminal and headed back to her quarters. Tomorrow, Minji would work on the next file. Soon they would have more answers. Hannah was not sure if she wanted those answers anymore. But they had started this investigation and they would finish it. The truth was waiting in those encrypted files. And something told Hannah that the truth was going to be even more disturbing than what they had already seen. Over the next week, Minji cracked 6 more files. Each one showed a different human conflict. Each one showed the same disturbing pattern. The second recording showed a human trade dispute with the Felnar Cooperative. The Felnar were a peaceful species who preferred negotiation over violence, but they had seized human merchant ships over a tariff disagreement. Humans had tried diplomacy. When that failed, they prepared for conflict, except the conflict never came. The Felnar Cooperative collapsed from within before a single shot was fired. The recording showed evidence that humans had infiltrated Felnar society at every level. They had learned about internal political tensions. They had found corruption in the Felnar government. Then they had simply exposed it all at once. The Felnar people turned against their own leaders. Their government fell. Their cooperative structure shattered. By the time the chaos ended, the new Felnar leadership gave the humans everything they had originally wanted and more. The humans won without fighting at all. The third recording was worse. A border war between humans and the Threxian Empire. The Threxians were Deho's people, proud warriors who valued strength and direct combat. The recording showed how humans had defeated them. Deho watched his people's defeat in silence. His hands gripped the edge of the table hard enough that his knuckles went white. The humans had not fought the Threxians with honor. They had not met them in glorious battle. Instead, humans had sent agents into Threxian territory. These agents had learned about the Threxian honor codes, about their warrior culture, about how Threxian commanders earned respect through single combat. Then the humans had spread rumors, false stories about Threxian commanders, lies about cowardice and dishonor. The stories were designed perfectly to exploit Threxian cultural values. Warriors challenged their own commanders to duels. Command structure broke down. The army fell apart from internal conflict while the humans simply watched and waited. When the Threxians finally realized what was happening, it was too late. Their military was fractured. Morale was destroyed. They surrendered without the humans ever committing their main forces to battle. They turned our greatest strength into our greatest weakness, Deho said. His voice was quiet and dangerous. Our honor, our warrior culture, everything that makes us Threxian. They used it all against us. That is what they do, Taman said. He had been taking notes. His tablet was filled with observations. Every battle follows the same pattern. Humans study their enemy completely. They learn the culture, the language, the social structures. Then they find the weaknesses and exploit them. It is not just exploitation, Hannah said. She had been researching human psychology in her spare time. It is deeper than that. Humans seem to understand how other minds work, how different species think and make decisions. They use that understanding as their primary weapon. The fourth recording showed a conflict with the Zenthari, Minji's people. She watched it with growing horror. The Zenthari were technological specialists, proud of their advanced systems and computer networks. Humans had infiltrated those networks so completely that the Zenthari never knew what information was real and what was false. Their technology betrayed them. We thought our encryption was perfect, Minji said. It was not. Humans broke it and made us think it was still secure. They fed us false data. We made decisions based on lies. Our strength became our weakness too. The pattern continued through the remaining recordings. The fifth file showed humans defeating the Valar through economic warfare. The sixth showed them destroying an enemy alliance by exploiting cultural differences between allies. The seventh was about the Kryn, Taemon's people, who valued knowledge and careful planning. Humans had given them so much false information that Kryn military planners became paralyzed by uncertainty. Taemon stared at his notes. Every species in this room has lost to humans. Our people, all of us. And in every case the defeat was total. Not just military defeat, cultural defeat, psychological defeat. I found something else, Hana said. She had been searching through academic databases, medical journals from the years after these conflicts, reports of what they called human conflict syndrome. Soldiers who fought against humans developed lasting psychological problems. Paranoia, trust issues, difficulty following orders because they could never be sure if commands were real or human deception. The damage lasted for generations, Taemon added. I found records about how military academies changed their training after fighting humans. Every major power in the galaxy reformed their communication systems, their command structures, their security protocols. All because humans had proven the old ways were vulnerable. Humans did not just win wars, Minji said quietly. They changed how everyone else fights wars. They forced the entire galaxy to adapt to threats that only humans seemed capable of executing. Daeho stood up and paced across the room. This is not honorable. This is not warfare. This is something else, something worse. It is effective, Hana said. Humans won every conflict they entered. They never lost. That is why they were banned, Taemon said. It has to be. The galaxy realized humans were too dangerous. Not because they were aggressive, because they were too good at destroying their enemies completely. But there is something I do not understand, Minji said. All these conflicts happened over 300 years ago. Humans accepted the ban. They stopped fighting. They have been peaceful members of the galactic community ever since. Why is this information still classified? Why hide it now? Hana thought about that. Maybe because knowing is dangerous. If everyone knew what humans did in those wars, how would people react? Would they trust human diplomats? Would they allow human cultural exchanges? Fear can destroy relationships even when there is no threat. Or maybe, Daeho said darkly, the information is classified because humans are still doing these things, just not in war anymore. The others looked at him. That thought was disturbing in a new way. Think about it, Daeho continued. Humans are everywhere now, diplomats, traders, teachers, scientists. They study our languages and cultures. They work in our governments and corporations. They build relationships at every level of society. What if that is just intelligence gathering by another name? You are being paranoid, Taemon said. But he did not sound certain, am I? Daeho asked. Or is that exactly how humans would want us to react to this information? Dismiss it as paranoia. Assume the threat is gone. Let our guard down, Hana felt cold. You are suggesting humans wanted to be banned from warfare, that they chose economic and diplomatic roles because those are more effective for their type of strategy. I am suggesting, Daeho said, that maybe humans never stopped fighting. They just changed the battlefield. Before anyone could respond, Taemon's communication device beeped. He checked it and his scales went pale. What is it? Hana asked. A message from Director Yuna's office, Taemon said. All 4 of us are summoned. Tomorrow morning. First thing. They know, Minji whispered. Security must have identified us from the archive break-in. What do we do? Daeho asked. Hana took a deep breath. We go. We face whatever consequences there are. We knew the risks when we started this. That night none of them slept well. They had learned so much in the past week. They understood now why humans were banned from warfare. But that understanding came with new fears and new questions. And tomorrow they would have to explain themselves to the academy director. They could only hope she would understand why they had needed to know the truth. As Hana lay in her bed staring at the ceiling, she wondered if seeking this knowledge had been a mistake. Some secrets were kept for good reasons. But it was too late now. They knew what humans were capable of. They would never be able to forget. Director Yuna's office was on the top floor of the administration building. The 4 students walked there together in the morning, none of them speaking. They had prepared for expulsion, maybe even criminal charges for breaking into classified archives. The office was large, with windows that looked out across the entire station. Director Yuna stood by those windows watching the stars. She was Valerian like Hana, but much older. Her skin had the deep blue color that came with age. She had been a famous admiral once before retiring to run the academy. She turned when they entered. Her expression was unreadable. Sit, she said. It was not a request, they sat. Hana prepared herself to take responsibility for leading the others into this situation, but before she could speak, Director Yuna surprised them. I have been monitoring your investigation, she said. I know you broke into the restricted archive. I know you stole classified files. I know you have been decrypting them. We are sorry, Hana began. Yuna held up a hand for silence. I did not say I was going to punish you. I said I have been monitoring you. There is a difference. The students looked at each other, confused. Your curiosity is dangerous, Yuna continued, but it is also valuable. Too many students simply accept what they are told. You questioned. You investigated. You risked everything to find the truth. That takes courage. She sat down behind her desk. It also tells me you can be trusted with dangerous knowledge. We do not understand, Taemin said. I am one of the few officials who knows the complete truth about the human ban, Yuna said. Not just the battle recordings you found. The real story. The full explanation of why the Galactic Council made that decision 300 years ago. She looked at each of them in turn. Do you want to know? Because once I tell you, you cannot unknow it. This information will change how you see the galaxy. Yes, Hana said immediately. The others nodded. Yuna stood and walked back to the windows. The recordings you saw showed human tactical superiority, psychological warfare, cultural exploitation. All of that is true, but it is not the full picture. She paused. Do you know what happened during the Dreven War? The Dreven hierarchy, Taemin said. A major power 300 years ago. I could not find much information about them in current databases. That is because the Dreven hierarchy no longer exists, Yuna said. Not in any meaningful way, and humans are the reason why. She activated a holographic display. It showed a star map from 3 centuries ago. A large region of space was marked in red. The Dreven hierarchy controlled 200 systems, Yuna explained. They were militaristic, expansionist. They started a border conflict with humanity. A limited war, or so they thought. The Drevens believed they would win easily. Humans were relatively new to the galactic stage. The Dreven saw them as weak. They were wrong, Deho said. Very wrong, Yuna agreed. The war lasted 2 years. On the surface, it was a series of small battles and skirmishes. Nothing major. But underneath, humans were waging a completely different kind of war. The display changed, showing networks of connection spreading through Dreven space like roots through soil. Human intelligence agents infiltrated Dreven society at every level, Yuna said. Government, military, media, education, commerce, everywhere. They learned everything about Dreven culture. Their history, their politics, their fears, their social dynamics. Then they began to manipulate all of it. How? Minji asked. By turning the Drevens against themselves, Yuna said. Humans identified existing tensions in Dreven society. Class conflicts, regional rivalries, political factions. They amplified everything. False flag operations made different Dreven groups think they were being attacked by each other. Carefully planted information made politicians suspect their rivals of treason. Media manipulation spread fear and conspiracy theories. The Dreven military started seeing threats everywhere, she continued. They could not trust their own intelligence. They could not trust their chain of command. Officers suspected each other of being human agents. Some probably were. Most were not. But the paranoia made it impossible to tell the difference. Hana felt sick. The Drevens lost the war without ever really fighting it. They lost more than the war, Yuna said. Their entire civilization collapsed. Not from military defeat, from internal breakdown. The paranoia spread through every aspect of their society. Their economy fell apart because nobody could trust business partners. Their government fractured because political cooperation became impossible. Their military disbanded because soldiers refused to follow orders they thought might be human deception. The display showed the red region of space fragmenting into dozens of smaller pieces. The Dreven hierarchy split into 47 separate nations, Yuna said. Most of them are still struggling today. They never recovered. An entire civilization suffered what we now call species-wide psychological trauma, all because of one conflict with humanity. The room was silent. The students tried to process what they were hearing. That is when the Galactic Council investigated, Yuna said. They discovered something terrifying. The Dreven War was not unique. Humans had been running similar operations against dozens of potential rivals. Not at war. During peacetime, as routine defensive strategy, they were preparing, Taman said, building the capability to destroy any civilization that threatened them. Exactly, Una said. The Council realized that humans operated on a completely different strategic level. Every other species in the galaxy separates peacetime and wartime. We have different rules for each. But humans do not think that way. For humans, war and peace are just different phases of the same continuous strategic competition. So the Council banned them from warfare, Hana said. The Council gave them a choice, Una corrected. Leave the galactic community entirely, or accept permanent exclusion from all military conflicts. Humanity chose to stay. They accepted the ban, and for 300 years they have honored it. But why? Deho asked. If humans are so powerful, why accept limitations? Because humans understood something the Council did not say explicitly, Una explained. If they did not accept the ban, every species in the galaxy would unite against them. Humans are effective against divided enemies. Against a unified galactic alliance, even humans could not survive that. So they chose to be part of the community instead, Minji said. Economic integration, diplomatic relationships, cultural exchange. All of it keeps them safer than military might ever could. Precisely, Una said. And it works. Most species treat humans with careful respect now. We benefit from their technology and knowledge. They benefit from galactic stability. Everyone is safer because humans are not fighting wars. But the knowledge is still classified, Hana said. Why? Because fear can be as destructive as war, Una said. If every citizen in the galaxy knew what humans did to the Drevens, how would they react? Would they accept human diplomats? Allow human businesses? Let human teachers educate their children? Or would fear poison every interaction? She turned to face them directly. The ban works because most people do not know why it exists. They just know humans are not allowed in wars. They think it is a bureaucratic rule. If they knew the truth, the peaceful integration we have achieved over 3 centuries could collapse overnight. That is why you are not punishing us, Taman said slowly. But warning us, yes, Una said. You have learned a dangerous truth. What you do with that knowledge matters. If you spread it carelessly, you could damage everything the galaxy has built. But if you keep it to yourselves, understand it properly, you will be wiser leaders someday. She looked at each of them. Can I trust you with this responsibility? The 4 students looked at each other. Then one by one they nodded. Good, Una said. Now go. Process what you have learned. And remember, knowledge is not just power. It is also a burden. Carry it wisely. The next few days were strange for all of them. They went to classes. They studied. They ate meals together. But everything felt different. They carried the weight of their new knowledge like a heavy bag they could not put down. Hana found herself watching humans differently. There were several human students and professors at the academy. She had never paid much attention to them before. Now she noticed things. The way human students asked questions in class, always learning, always curious. The way human professors built relationships with other faculty, always friendly, always interested in other cultures. Was it innocent? Or was it intelligence gathering? She could not tell anymore. Deho struggled the most. His entire culture was built on direct combat and warrior honor. Learning that his people had been defeated by psychological manipulation decades ago had shaken something fundamental in him. He spent hours in the training halls practicing combat forms, as if physical strength could somehow balance what he now knew about human strategic thinking. Taman buried himself in research. He wanted to understand the patterns better. He found academic papers about human cognition and social behavior, studies about human pattern recognition abilities, reports about how humans built and maintained complex social networks. Every paper made the picture clearer and more disturbing. Minji stopped tinkering with her devices. She had always loved technology. Now she understood that technology was just a tool. Humans had proven that understanding minds was more powerful than understanding machines. It bothered her deeply. They met in Hana's room one evening, 5 days after their meeting with Director Una. They needed to talk about what they had learned. They needed to process it together. I have been thinking about the ban, Taman said, about whether it is fair. Humans accepted it to stay part of the galactic community. But is it just to exclude an entire species from warfare forever? What if they face an existential threat? Minji added. What if another species tries to destroy them? The ban says they cannot defend themselves militarily. They can defend themselves, Deho said darkly. Just not the way other species do. If someone threatened humanity with extinction, do you think the ban would stop them from using their capabilities? They would do what they did to the Drevens. But worse. Much worse. The ban protects everyone, Hana said, including humans. It gives them a reason to stay peaceful. A way to be part of the galaxy without making everyone fear them constantly. But are they peaceful? Deho asked. Or are they just fighting wars we do not recognize as wars anymore? That question hung in the air. None of them had a good answer. The Academy was hosting a cultural exchange event that weekend. Representatives from different species came to share their cultures with students. There was music, food, art, and conversation. Hana went, though she was not sure why. Maybe she needed to feel normal again. Maybe she wanted to see if she could still enjoy simple things after learning such heavy truths. The other three came too. They stayed together, moving through the crowd, and then Hana saw them, a group of human diplomats and cultural representatives. They were talking with students and faculty, smiling, laughing, asking questions about different cultures and customs. Hana watched them with her new understanding. She saw how they naturally mapped social connections, how they remembered names and details about everyone they met, how they asked questions that seemed casual, but revealed information about power structures and relationships. It was not malicious. It was just how they operated. Constant strategic awareness. You see it too, Deho said quietly beside her. Yes, Hana said, but I am not sure what it means. Are they gathering intelligence? Or are they just being human? Maybe for them there is no difference. One of the humans noticed them watching. He walked over with a friendly smile. He was young, maybe 30 in human years. His name tag said Soo-hyun, cultural attaché. You are students here? He asked. His accent was slight but noticeable. He was speaking their language perfectly, but it was clearly not his first language. Yes, Hana said. Military history program. Fascinating field, Soo-hyun said. You must learn about all sorts of historical conflicts. The galaxy has seen so many wars over the centuries. There was something in his tone, something that made Hana wonder if he knew, if he understood what they had discovered. But his expression remained friendly and open. Can I ask you something? Hana said carefully. About the ban, the one that prevents humans from participating in military conflicts. Soo-hyun's smile did not change, but something shifted in his eyes. Awareness. Understanding. Of course. What would you like to know? Does it bother you? Hana asked. Being excluded from something other species can do? Soo-hyun considered the question. Humanity made a choice 300 years ago. We decided that being part of the galactic community was more valuable than maintaining unlimited military options. That choice has served us well. But you gave up power, Deho said. You accepted limitations, did we? Soo-hyun asked. His tone was still friendly, but there was something deeper there. Power takes many forms. Military strength is one kind, but economic integration, diplomatic relationships, cultural exchange, these are forms of power too, perhaps more sustainable ones. You think the ban makes you stronger? Taemin asked. I think the ban allows us to be part of something larger, Soo-hyun said. Humanity alone is just one species among hundreds. Humanity as an integrated member of the galactic community? That is real strength. We trade with everyone. We learn from everyone. We build relationships everywhere. Why would we want to fight wars when we can achieve our goals through cooperation? Because some conflicts cannot be resolved peacefully, Deho said. Perhaps, Soo-hyun agreed. But I think humans have learned something important over the centuries. The best way to win a war is to prevent it from happening in the first place. And you cannot prevent wars through military strength alone. You prevent them by understanding others, by building connections, by making conflict more costly than cooperation. He looked at them with eyes that seemed to see more than they should. We do not need to fight wars anymore. We have become very good at making sure wars do not start. At least not wars that involve us. Hana felt cold. That simple statement carried so much weight. Humans had not stopped being strategic. They had not stopped preparing. They had just changed their methods. War prevention through strategic positioning was still warfare, just a more subtle kind. Thank you for your time, Hana said. Soo-hyun smiled warmly. Anytime. I hope you continue to study history. Understanding the past helps us build a better future. He moved away to talk with other students. The four friends stood together in silence for a moment. Then, by unspoken agreement, they left the event and returned to Hana's room. He knew, Minji said. He knew what we discovered. Of course he knew, Daeho said. That is what they do. They pay attention. They understand. They know more about us than we know about ourselves. Is that so terrible? Hana asked quietly. They use that understanding to prevent wars, to build cooperation. Yes, it is strategic. Yes, it gives them influence. But is it wrong? I do not know, Taman admitted. I thought I understood warfare. I thought I understood power. But humans operate on a level most species do not even recognize. They win before anyone realizes there was a competition. The ban was not punishment, Hana said slowly, understanding finally clicking into place. It was recognition. The galaxy recognized that humans think differently about conflict, that they see connections between things other species separate, peace and war, diplomacy and strategy, culture and intelligence. For humans, it is all part of one continuous game. And banning them from traditional warfare, Minji continued, forced them into areas where they are even more effective. Economics, diplomacy, culture, they dominate those spaces now. So the ban did not weaken humans, Daeho said. It just changed the battlefield to one where they are even more dangerous. They sat with that thought. Outside the window, the station continued its endless orbit. Ships came and went. Species from across the galaxy mixed and interacted. And somewhere in all of that, humans were watching, learning, building connections, preventing conflicts before they started. What do we do with this knowledge? Taman asked finally. We remember it, Hana said. We understand it. And we use it to be better leaders someday. Because Director Yuna was right. This is dangerous knowledge, but it is also important knowledge. We cannot fear humans, she continued. That serves no one. But we can respect what they are capable of. We can understand that they think strategically in ways most species do not. And we can work to build genuine cooperation, not just surface relationships. You think cooperation is possible? Daeho asked. Real cooperation with a species that is always 3 steps ahead? I think it has to be, Hana said. Because the alternative is either constant suspicion or eventual conflict. And we have seen what happens when species fight humans. Nobody wins those wars. Not really. They talked late into the night. Processing, understanding, accepting. They had started this journey looking for answers about a historical mystery. They had found those answers. But they had also found something more important. They had learned that the most powerful species was not the one with the strongest weapons or the largest fleet.